Broke Ride Media.
You're now listening to The Straight Shooter Show with your host, The Straight Shooter.
All right. Well, thank you for taking the time out of your day to spend with us. Last week, we asked, people to send emails with their point of view on the whole friends with opposite sex. If you're in a relationship, primarily, if a new person comes into the picture of the opposite sex, like they meet somebody at work. But whatever, we asked for emails. We got a bunch of emails, so we're gonna dive right into it. We're gonna read a few of them. Also, Zach and I were both going to kind of reflect on our own stance to see, really determine, if how we feel about the situation is warranted or if it's not. And so after we get through some of these emails, I've not talked to Zach about this. He's not talked to me about, if his stance has changed any. I don't know what he's going to say. I know very clearly what I'm going to say. So after we get through these emails, we will reveal our own stance. And then we will carry on with the show. We got a good caller today.
Okay. So first one is from Brendan Schaefer. He says, "Hi, personally, I believe that having a close friend of the opposite gender in a relationship is not healthy and eventually will put a strain on said relationship, mostly because of the obvious threat that your significant other could be more than friends with said friend. And secondly, because there will most likely be a commitment issue if one partner has their priorities set on another person. Thanks. Love the show." Thanks, Brendan. We're just going to crash through these emails and just read them all, and then we'll talk about them at the end.
Thanks, Brendan.
Thank you, Brendan. Okay, Miles Kagan. He said, "Hi, Straight Shooter and Zach. Firstly, I would like to thank the Straight Shooter for the advice you gave me a while back after I messaged you on TikTok. It helped me feel more confident, and I ended up reaching out to the girl I like, but she ended up leaving me open. Oh, leaving him on open. She opened his message. Do you remember him?"
I'm not sure.
Okay. But to the question that you asked at the end of the show, in my opinion, I think that it's fine to have friends of the opposite sex, whether it's yourself or your significant other, but to an extent. You shouldn't be going out with them or talking with them all the time. Maybe you talk to them every so often and even ask for advice on a relationship problem. Ooh. Because who knows guys better than guys, or who knows girls better than girls, just to sum it all up. I think it's fine to have a friend of the opposite sex while in a relationship as long as that friend respects and knows to keep some distance. Oh, he says, "If you don't remember me, I was the one that messaged you about how I felt after getting cheated on by my ex, and you gave great baseball analogy."
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I know who he is.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Miles.
Thank you, buddy.
On to the next one. Our friend of the show, Isaac Cable. Isaac says, "I have to agree with you because many of us have experienced bad relationships with people who have cheated or maybe caused some kind of other heartbreak. Depending on the cause of the breakup, it takes time to recover and become confident within yourself again. I do agree that there are a small number of people that can maintain a friendship, but I have spoken to many like myself who could not maintain a friendship with their ex in the end. It would work for maybe less than a year, but fell apart within that time. I could be civil, but that is as far as I can go 99.99% of the time. I'm confident in myself, but I simply don't want to deal with the drama from my exes anymore. I make sure I limit my interaction with them as much as possible. On a side note, if I was to find a woman I love, I would trust her and encourage her to have a social life, but make sure she knows to be careful and set boundaries in every situation, especially dealing with exes, so she can't be falsely accused. Vice versa for me towards her during the relationship as well. At the end of the day, I don't think being friends with an ex is possible unless there is an agreement like the couple you interviewed. Overall, boundaries are important in any relationship. I hope this helps. Isaac."
All right.
That's a good one.
Thank you, Isaac.
All right. This is Ryan. He sent a novel. Ryan, we're not going to be able to read this whole thing. We got to get to a caller. So we're just going to give a synopsis of it. I hope I'm using that right. Do you know what the word? Let's not Google synopsis.
It's a summary.
There you go. Did I say it right?
I don't know.
I'm smart. Okay. He said, I'm 26 years old, and I was married from 2016 to 2020. My former wife and I met at the ages of 19, 18, and 2014. We're friends for the next 6 months or so, dated for another 7 months, engaged for another year and some change, and then we were married, and everything seemed great until 2019. Biggest thing he said that his biggest mistake he could not overcome was addressing her insecurities early on in the relationship. So give me a minute here. Oh, so he found a paper note from a guy in the laundry that he happened to be doing. He sent him a message, not threatening him. Lord knows I don't need a smart person making legal problems for me, but telling him we had a problem that needed to stop. So a guy was messaging his wife, and there was a paper note that he found while he was doing laundry. So he brought the paper to her. The pressure on her began to build for her to pick up the slack on her part in rebuilding our relationship and those boundaries she needed, and unfortunately she folded under the pressure. To make a long story short, the affair got physical. We separated in October of 2019, and I chose to continue as her husband, be willing to preserve the marriage and rebuild, but she'd gotten herself in a cycle where the more unfaithful she was, the more the lost faith in a relationship. I haven't seen her since we separated. The divorce was finalized in November of last year, and unfortunately, I am aware that she got pregnant last February, as continued in that cycle. Even though this is the hardest thing I've ever gone through and hope to be blessed with a good marriage someday, I try to make an effort every day that God will bring me through this sort of victory. I haven't spiraled or anything. I'm pretty much introverted, so... In an ideal world, people can be friends with people of the opposite gender, but we don't live in an ideal world, and boundaries against things we're susceptible to are needed. Okay, so boundaries to things that are susceptible.
So basically, what I'm gathering is that this was a guy friend of hers that started pursuing her, and she responded.
Yep, and it got physical, and they cheated. He was still willing to work on the relationship even after.
But she just kept cheating. So I'm okay. Well, I don't want to talk about that yet because that one's kind of got me. That's different, I feel like. But we'll talk about that in a minute. We got 2 more emails. Another friend of the show, Matt Mills. What's up, Matt? Matt.
It says, hey, Zach and Jason. First off, Zach, I just wanted to say that I personally think there's nothing wrong with you. It's not something that you need to fix.
Oh, there's something wrong with him, Matt.
No, Matt, there's not. Thank you for saying that. Finally, someone sees that I'm fine.
He doesn't know you.
Yeah, I know. There's a difference between Michelle's situation and what you're proposing. Having a brand new guy friend from work randomly popping up out of nowhere versus getting into a relationship with the relationship like Michelle's that's been established for a while. I agree with you, Zach. If my wife told me a new guy from work and her became friends, then I would be worried as well, especially since it's super random and brand new. Definitely weird and something that would need to be looked into. Going back to Jason's statement, it all makes sense. If you need another straight male's attention, then there's obviously something between your relationship that needs fixing. I think it's fair to be wary when your spouse's significant other is wanting the attention of the opposite sex that's not you, whether stuff will happen or not. Okay. I'm kind of getting just from your facial expressions what you came to this week. And then Pierre, the final email from Pierre, he wanted
Michelle's
to send
boyfriend.
Yes. He wanted to send a final thought to us, okay? Pierre said, I had a thought today that you might want to pass on to Jason. Michelle's last name is her ex's last name. If I can live with that, I can live with whatever she is and wants to be, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, you've got it. Okay, so that's all the emails that we got. I personally want to hear from you. You can respond to all these emails in a whole and then tell me where you landed.
Okay. So without directly responding to each email, I'm just going to really tell you where I landed, after, I really thought it through, and my thinking has not changed at all, because we've developed so many scenarios last week, with, well, what if this happened and what if that happened? And Michelle initially emailed, she wanted to say, no, you can be friends with your ex. So she was kind of taking issue with me. But when we talked about it, even after talking to Pierre, she really wasn't contradicting what she wasn't going against what I was saying, because what I have always said is that I don't think it's healthy for couples to be friends with their exes. She is not friends with her ex. Is she friendly? Yes. Is she cordial? Yes. Do they hang out together? Do they go out to comedy clubs and concerts together? No. Why not? Because she's in a relationship. That's what I say. That's what I preach. What she's doing is what I preach. So I'm going to maintain that, you don't want to be hanging out, talking on the phone every day, going out, spending time with your ex if you're in a new relationship. If you're not in a new relationship and they aren't either, and y'all want to spend some time together, by all means, have at it if that's what you like to do. For Pierre to say, well, she still has her ex-husband's last name, so if I can deal with that, I understand what he's saying, but to me, that doesn't really prove anything, because, there's tons and tons and tons and tons of people that are living with somebody, a significant other. They're not going to get married. They have no intentions of getting married, but their girlfriend still has their ex-husband's last name, and that's just the way it is. What are they going to do? So it doesn't mean anything to me. I understand where you're coming from, Pierre, but it doesn't mean anything to me. And really, the whole thing about any of the other scenarios that we brought up about a girl or a guy hanging out with somebody of the opposite sex, having a friend that they're hanging out with on a consistent basis, especially like somebody coming into the relationship new, somebody meets somebody at work or whatever, wherever they meet them, doesn't matter. And they start hanging out with the opposite sex. I'm not going to be with somebody that I don't trust. So if I don't trust her, I'm not going to be with her anyway. I can trust that my girlfriend is going to be faithful to me. I can trust that my girlfriend can have 10 male work colleagues, maybe even have lunch with them. I'm not concerned. But when my girlfriend, if I'm got a girlfriend, thinks that it's okay for her to be texting with her guy friend all night, or talking on the phone with her guy friend all night, or going out to the club, or going out to dinner with her guy friend, that's a boundary, which is something I heard in a lot of those emails, I'm not willing to accept. I'm not going to do that to my significant other, because my attention is focused on my significant other. And so I'm not going to be with a woman who thinks that that's okay.
Do you think Pierre has a reason to be concerned with Michelle?
I don't think he has a reason to be concerned. And even he said if they got together for dinner, there would be a reason, like they needed to talk about the kids. And I said, well, what's wrong with a phone call? He's like, well, I don't know. That'd be okay too.
Yeah.
So, if Michelle was going to have dinner with her ex-husband weekly, without Pierre, I would think that would be out of line.
Yeah.
Even if they were going to talk about the kids.
Yeah.
So whether she's going to cheat on Pierre with Michelle or with her ex-husband is irrelevant. She is taking time away from her relationship with Pierre to go have dinner with her ex-husband.
It seems like they have a pretty healthy relationship, though. And Pierre's very mature, more mature than I could be, I think.
Well, and I believe what Pierre said. I don't discount, but I really believe Pierre came on the show to prove the point that I trust my girlfriend. I trust my girlfriend.
Yeah.
And I believe he trusts his girlfriend.
I don't think he came on to prove us wrong. I think that he came on to prove that there are exceptions to what we are saying. And I think he did prove that there are exceptions, because with what's going on there, I think if let's just say, and no offense, Michelle, because we love you and you know that, but if I were to meet Michelle and her be in that scenario, that's why I asked this question. I don't know if I would have ever pursued a relationship with her because I'm not comfortable with that kind of stuff. Well, Pierre did. Does that mean there's something wrong with me because I'm not secure enough with myself to think that? Or
no, it's not a matter. I don't think, for me, it's not a matter of insecurity. It's a matter of if I'm your man, I'm your man.
Yeah.
You don't need another man to spend time with.
Yeah.
If you do, then I'm not the man for you.
And I know we'll never get to talk with her ex. And so this is just me throwing a penny down a well. But I think her ex is still in love with her, man.
I do too.
I really do. I mean, from all we're hearing.
But I think he's mature enough.
Yeah.
Also to know that this isn't going to happen. I'm still in love with her, but I know this isn't going to happen. So
yeah.
I am going to take a step back. I'm still going to be there for her because I love her and I'm in love with her.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to cause her problems or pursue anything with her because I know that's not, it's not on the table.
Right.
And I don't even think for him it's on the table. Even though he's in love with her, based on what she said, I don't even think it's on the table for him. Even if she were willing, I'm not so sure he would.
And I'll tell you where I landed this week with it. For me, I think my relationship is perfect for me, right? And everything about it that makes it perfect is because it is the way it is. Are you following me? It is exactly the way it is. If my wife were friends in the beginning with one of her exes that was close in the very beginning, I don't think it would be as perfect as it is now. I don't even know if it would work, is what I'm saying. I love everything about my relationship, and I don't know if I would if it was like that, or I don't know if I would have ever pursued it. Because in the beginning when we were dating and I found out about this, I may have shied away from it. You see what I'm saying? So it's outside of her nature to be friends with any man.
Right.
But if it were in her nature, I don't know if it would work. So where I landed is, for me, I don't think I'm the type of guy that can handle that. Whether it's something wrong with me or not, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care if it is or not. It's who I am. And I think that's what we need to start as men. We need to start realizing that it may be something you can't keep thinking that something's wrong with you or something's right with you or something like that. You need to accept the way you are and find the right person to fit with you, If you don't want your wife being friends with a guy, then that's just how you are. You don't have to bow down to that,
I almost feel like I understand where you're coming from, but I almost feel like that can be kind of dangerous advice to say, you be okay with who you are and you find somebody who will fit that mold, because if that person that's hearing that you say that is a narcissist
or a toxic,
then they're like, ain't nothing wrong with me.
Yeah.
Find somebody who's going to adapt to my toxicity.
Yeah. If you're an asshole, don't get me wrong.
That's all I'm saying is.
Yeah. If you're an asshole, if you have some toxic trait, you need to constantly.
Oftentimes they don't realize that they're toxic.
Right.
Or they don't realize they're an asshole.
Right.
They think everything they do. Most narcissists think that everything they do is just fine.
Well, and there's nobody that's going to convince them that they're not either.
Right.
And so they're going to be the way I'm saying anyway. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is I took a break, in between women before I got married. And I realized that I was a large portion of the problem in my previous relationships. Mm-hmm. And I had to make some serious changes. So I'm not saying don't change some things that need to be changed. Even after I'm married now, I feel like I'm a great husband, but there's still, I think until the day I die, there's going to be things I need to change and get better on. But there's some things that you can't be what I'm saying is, are you ever going to be comfortable with anyone you're with being friends with the opposite sex? Ever?
Being friends with?
Yeah.
Look, I've been in relationships where they had friends that were of the opposite sex. They didn't go hang out with them.
Yeah.
They didn't go to dinner with them. They weren't talking to them on the phone. Now, I would say I had a relationship where her ex-husband would text her, how was your day? What's your plans for the weekend? And I told her, bullshit. You cut that out.
Yeah.
Or that's a deal breaker for me if you don't cut that shit out. And I ended it. I mean, I said, well, if you can't cut that shit out, then you're not going to be, I can't do this. Because if you can't put me, and especially because this particular ex that was asking her how her day was a total dick to me. And, he was a thorn in the relationships side. Yeah. And so to allow that person who had no respect for our relationship to begin with, to ask her how her day was and how what her weekend plans are, and her be responsive. Nope. I
don't care if there's any guy texting my wife how her day was. No, not okay. When we first started dating, right? So me and my wife were friends with benefits. I think I commented on one of your videos where I said we were friends with benefits before, but I'm married to her now. She's kind of cool, but. We were friends with benefits. Well, she was also messing around with another guy during that time. Didn't care. We had no strings attached. We were just doing our thing. I could have done the same thing if I wanted to. So it was literally, I didn't have a problem with it at all. Yeah. In fact, at one point, I tried to push her to date that guy because I could kind of tell she was getting feelings for me and I wasn't ready for a relationship. So I was like, why don't you go date that guy? But anyway, when we finally decided to commit and date, he reached out and tried to call her. Well, she was sitting on a chair and I was hugging her from behind and she had her phone in her hand and his name popped up and he was calling her. And what I did was I said, hey, that makes me uncomfortable. I would like you to message him and shut that down and tell him that you're in a relationship now and you'd like to no longer speak with him. And then I was like, wait a second, is that negative or toxic for me to say that? And then I was like, what do you think? Do you think that's the right thing to do? And she was like, absolutely. Yeah, I would love to do that. I said, okay, cool. She did it. Never heard from him again. Yeah. So, I think that's the way you handle it, in my opinion.
That's, to me, what you just said, that you were in a FWB, situation and she was seeing, to me, anytime I've ever thought of a FWB situation, it's two people that are exclusive to each other, but they don't have any obligation to each other, if that makes sense.
No, we talked about it way before then. It was okay with me too. Like she had feelings for me. She came and talked to me before she even went out with this guy. You know what I mean? Because I told her straight up she tried to kiss me the first night we were over here, and I told her no. Well, eventually we ended up having sex, and then we ended up saying, this is sex only, no emotions attached whatsoever. But she came to me and asked me if it was okay if she went out with this guy before she ever did it. And I said, absolutely. I had no problems with it at all.
So what she was trying to do was get you to say, no, don't see it. That's what she was trying to do.
She was playing a game, and it worked. We're married, so. But I mean, I don't even think about that we talked about it. She was completely respectful about it, so.
All right.
You don't like that? You don't like that?
Well, for me, the only reason I would be in a friends with benefits relationship is if I didn't want an obligation, it would prevent me from going out with random hookups and damaging people. But I want some exclusivity. I want it to be exclusive because I don't want my FWB out bringing me something.
That's what I worried about at the time.
Yeah.
I did worry about that, but it didn't happen, so we're good.
Yeah. That's the only reason. I just, for health reasons, I would,
No, yeah. But man, since I lost my virginity when I was 14, and since then, I mean, it's a fucking miracle that I haven't ever caught anything. So
yeah,
it's a miracle. I've never really been safe. So anyway, you want to take a phone call? What?
Zach, I've never been safe.
No, never.
I am so lucky.
Never. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
To anybody else listening to this, be safe.
Practice safe sex. Because
Yeah.
There's no possible way you can get as lucky as I did. No way. So we got a caller today. What I'm going to do with this caller is I'm just going to let you get his story from him. So his name's Anthony.
Okay.
He needs your help, and I'm just going to let you get his story from him.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
That's fine.
All right, Anthony, here we go.
All right, Anthony. I have not read your email, and he has told me nothing, so I'm coming into this with no knowledge. So tell me what's going on, and I will do my best to help you out.
All right. It's kind of a long deal here. So basically, my mom has been up and down most of her life as far as when I've been in it.
Up and down in what way?
Mentally.
Okay.
Just, she's always had mental issues, drug use, prescription drug use. They're prescribed this woman. We grew up in an era where they just keep prescribing.
Right.
And, she's also been in and out as far as, being around. Sometimes she would be around. Like when I was real young, she was always around when her and my stepdad were married. But once they got divorced and she started dating other guys and things like that, I always lived with her, but, things got weird.
How old are you now?
I'm in my 30s now.
Okay.
So this is all, and I've been pretty much on my own since I was about 16. My stepdad always gave me a place to stay, but my mom, when I was 16, she had met a guy that was a union electrician, and they were going to get married and all that. Well, he decided that there wasn't enough work in the area we lived in. And that he wanted to move. So he told her, hey, I'm moving to Vegas, because that's apparently where all the work was.
Okay.
So that's what they did. And she's like, hey, me and Mike, we're moving to Vegas. Jim said you could stay with me. Well, I guess that's what I'm doing. So she moved to Vegas, left me behind, took my sister with her.
Okay.
She was gone for a couple years, and then that marriage failed again. Not surprised, but so she come back, and of course she wanted me to be back in her life, and I said, you know what, fine, whatever. So I did it. Things went on for a while, and
I want to make sure I'm clear.
For a little while,
it was like she was 6. You were around 16 when she went to Vegas.
Yeah, I was 16, 17, right there. I just started driving.
And so when she came back, you were like 18, 19 years old.
Yeah, I just got out of high school, just finished high school.
And were you still living with your stepdad?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was still living there. So then after that, she come back, and I started staying at her house, because with Mom, there was never much rules, Stepdad, he's a really good guy, and he really, he wanted me to be something better than what I came from.
Right.
So, of course, at 18, 19 years old, I'm like, party mode. I don't want no rules. So I started staying with my mom more and more. And that's what it became. And then stayed with her for a while. And then ended up going back to my dad's, because when she moved back first, she was okay. And then she moved into another apartment. And then she started messing with the guy that lived across the street. Well, the guy that lived across the street was married. And his wife come over and informed my mom that she wasn't doing the right thing. And I'm sure it came to more than just words. I wasn't there.
Right.
Well, when I get home, my mom blamed me for not being there. Of course, I was never home anyways. I came there to sleep, and that was about it. So, that was my fault, and I didn't have a place to stay again. So I was back at my dad's. I call my stepdad Dad. He's my dad.
Yeah.
And then that went on for a few months, and then she convinced me to come back again. And this has just been a cycle for the last, I don't know, probably 15 years.
Okay.
So, of course, I go back, and I'm staying with her again and helping her with her rent and this and that. And then, I'm telling her, it came up to there, she was dating another guy, and I was like, look, this guy's just using you. Like, I don't know how you don't see it. Like, we lived in a 4-family apartment that had garages underneath, and this guy, he wasn't dating her 2 weeks, and all of a sudden he's got this car in our garage tearing it apart like he's some shade tree mechanic guy. And I'm like, dude, you can't be doing that. You're going to get us kicked out. So anyways, the next year, I got into it with her and she started in on me about the girl I was dating, which was whatever. So, I was like, we don't agree. That's fine. But you got to just at least look at the big picture here. We're going to end up with nowhere to live again.
Right.
So, that's where we ended up again I did, because she didn't agree with me. And then the girlfriend I had at the time told her, hey, you can't talk to him like that. Why are you talking to him like that? He's just trying to do what's best for you, which may or may not have been her place. But my mom is she's pretty much white trash. So she comes to blows. She starts attacking my girlfriend, and I'm like, I can't have this. This is not good. I'm not going to get in the middle of a fist fight with these two.
Right.
So I leave. I take my stuff, and I get out. And then, I didn't speak to my mom for a long time because she threw me out on the street over that. And it took me about 2 weeks to find somewhere. I was staying with my girlfriend's parents for a little bit.
Okay, so I have the general idea of what the past has been with your mom. Let's try to get to where we're at right now. What's going on right now?
Okay, so right now, I pretty much wrote my mom off. She's done. I'm not doing it again because I've come back 2 or 3 more times after that.
How long ago has it been since you wrote her off and you're not dealing with her?
Let's see. It was right when we found out we were pregnant with my daughter, so it's been almost 2 years.
Okay. You've had no contact or just limited contact?
None.
Okay.
None. I'm not putting my kids through what I went through.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I've decided that their well-being is above that.
Sure.
So there's been no contact, which I'm okay with. I've come to realize that she is just selfish and she's going to put herself first no matter what. So my issue is now that, my sister, what had happened, the whole blowout was she kept posting things on Facebook that we weren't ready to share, like the fact that we were pregnant. My wife blew up about that.
Right, I'm sure.
So I said, Mom, you can't do that. And she said, well, fuck you, blah, 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 blah. I said, fine, we're done. I'm not doing this. So, of course, my sister's in on it, saying, well, why don't you talk to Mom? I said, I can't do it no more. So I just can't. And that's where we come into my problem is my wife is right about my sister. It's been about 2 years. And I've tried to, I always send my sister and her husband something for Christmas. And I would like to have a relationship with her, but she's just not making an effort, or I'm not making enough room for her to make an effort.
With your sister?
Right.
Okay.
I mean, I think my sister feels like I've abandoned her with my mom, which I get that, but I can't do it.
Does your sister live local to you? Does she live close to you?
Yeah, my sister and my mom live about 15 minutes apart.
They live together?
I used to live, no.
Okay.
They live two separately, but they're like, 5 minutes, 10 minutes down the road from each other.
Okay.
And when I bought a house with my wife, I moved an hour out. So I'm still close, You know, it's not like move to Texas or something, you know?
Right.
Um,
So
I moved.
I want to
I
make sure
moved
I'm clear. You're an hour from your sister or 15 minutes from your sister?
I'm an hour from my sister. My sister and my mom are about 15 minutes apart.
Okay. I got you.
They live kind of in the same neighborhood.
And your sister older or younger than you?
We're 2 years apart.
She's younger?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's 2 years younger than me.
Is she married,
So-
have kids?
She is married. She did have a daughter, which that bothers me too because I've never got to meet my niece. I'd really like to do that, but you know, and I still talk to her dad is my stepdad.
Okay.
So, you know, I talk to him. He's out in my house at least every other week, helping me with stuff around the house.
Yeah.
So she has the option. She's never been told she's not welcome here, but I don't know if I'm just not. I don't know what to tell her. I don't know what.
How often
I know my wife is right.
How often do you and your sister talk, like just on the phone?
She hasn't bothered to call me, text me, nothing.
But if you call her, is she responsive? Will she answer the phone and talk to you?
I'm not real sure. You know, it's been a long.
Okay.
Everything that happened, you know.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think I got enough information from you right now. You know, I can tell you what I think you should do. I mean, because I've seen very similar, you know, scenarios to what you're dealing with right now. And I mean, being an hour apart, I mean, an hour's, you know, it's a pretty decent amount of time, you know, to travel. I drive an hour to come to the studio, you know, to do the podcast, and I do it once a week. It's important to me. It's important to me to come out here to, you know, to the studio to do the podcast. It's not like just running, you know, 2 blocks. You know, my parents live 2 miles from me. You know, I can do that anytime, but you know, I got to make an effort to come out here, you know, set the time aside to come out here to do the podcast every Saturday. So I'm just going to tell you what I would really highly recommend you do. This is important to you to try to build that relationship with your sister. Is I would try to call her and tell her that you would really like to come to her and maybe see if she can schedule, you know, notch out a couple of hours. You'd like to take her to lunch on a Saturday or to dinner, just the two of you. It's been too long since y'all have talked, and that you really want to spend some time with her. And, you know, if you can get that worked out with her, to have that time, you know, leave the kids with your wife, you go alone, go spend an hour or two with your sister over a meal and express to her, look, you know, I love mom. She's our mom, but these are the reasons I can't have her. I mean, to me, she's toxic. She's toxic. You know, I don't want her to be toxic to my kids. But I love you. You're my sister and you're not toxic. So I really want to have this relationship with you, and I'm willing to put the effort in. You know, I'm willing to come out here. I'd like for you to come out to my house sometimes too. Bring the family. Come spend the weekend sometimes. You know, I'd like to bring my family out here, and, you know, I really want to get to know my niece, and just lay it all out on the table for her that, you know, it's something that really weighs on you, the fact that y'all don't have the relationship that you want. And I think if you lay it all out on the table for her, that you're willing to put the effort and the work in too to make that relationship work. Obviously, it's not going to happen every weekend. I mean, everybody has lives. But if y'all even got together once a month and would be open to texting each other throughout the week, or, you know, just keeping each other updated on what your families have going on, that will build the relationship, you know, just having those text messages regularly. But if you can get her to go out to eat with you and let you lay it all on the table for her, I mean, I'm hopeful that she would be receptive to that and have some understanding. And maybe she can give you information where she stands with your mom, why she feels the way she does. And maybe the other way, whenever you lay out how you feel about mom, it will open her eyes to things that maybe she hadn't considered or she didn't see. And there'd just be more of an understanding between the two of you. I mean, does all of that make sense to you?
Yeah, that makes sense. And I guess sometimes I don't really think about the fact that it's an hour apart because I drive that hour every day. I drive right past your neighborhood to go to work every day.
You do?
Yes, sir.
You drive past her neighborhood to go to work?
Yep, I work on a all shift, and I drive an hour to work every day right past your neighborhood. Awesome. Well, try to make it a Friday night when you get off work. Try to just look. I'm going to be getting off work Friday. I mean, I don't know what hours you work, but if you get off work at a time that would be good for going out to dinner, do that. Save yourself a trip. But yeah, I wish that was the case. I actually work from 2 p.m. to 10 at night.
Yeah.
And when I get off work, the city she lives in or the state, they have everything shut down because of COVID at 10 o'clock.
Oh yeah.
So
you work Monday through Friday?
Yeah. So actually, I believe it's on the weekends too, but I don't tend to go over there too much during the weekend.
Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, on a time that you do have to work, and if you have to be there at 2 on a Saturday, go to lunch with her. Meet her at 11 on a Saturday, and take her to lunch. I mean, look, any relationship, regardless of the circumstances, if you want to have a relationship with somebody, both people have to put the work in. They have to it has to be something that's important to both people, to, keep that connection, whether it's a text, here and there, everything good. This is what's going on with you. I mean, there has to be effort on both parts, but starting from zero, which is where you guys are right now with not really talking or having any communication and having a difference of opinions about, mom, it's going to take extra effort right here at the beginning for both of you, but it may take even more effort on your part than hers at the very beginning because you are the one that is, initiating, pursuing, that reconnection of, that brother-sister relationship. So if you, for a while, have to put in more effort than her, if it's important to you, do that because it will draw her into their relationship so that it can become more of an equal partnership. It's kind of like whenever you meet someone new and, you're pursuing them, you probably put in a little more effort in the beginning, than maybe you do 3 or 4 months down the road. You still put effort in, but in the very beginning, when you're trying to pursue that person and get them into the relationship, it is all your attention, Okay, go ahead with what you were going to say.
Okay, yeah, that all makes total sense. Now, how do I also have the issue of my wife and her not, because of everything that transpired, I have to also fix the relationship between her and my wife. And,
okay, maybe I missed something you may have said something and I missed that part. What is the issue between your sister and your wife? Why is there conflict?
Well, my sister took the side of my mom about everything in the original situation when it blew up over the pregnancy announcement. And that was kind of like the last straw. And I guess it was a 3-way conversation. I didn't actually read the conversation at the point in time. I wish it would have.
Yeah.
But apparently there were some words exchanged between my sister, my mom, and my wife, and they weren't real pretty.
Yeah.
So, and of course, everybody holds grudges. So everybody's still mad.
Well, as far as that is concerned, I would look for something to compare that to that you can present to your sister, as in come up with a scenario that if it were something that were important to your sister and your mom were to, cross that boundary for her, like, if you weren't ready for people to know this about you, but mom went out there and put it on social media for everybody to see, and that, you felt like that was really your announcement to make, would you be upset with mom, and maybe have 2 or 3 different scenarios so that if she doesn't see the first one, have another one, have another backup, but don't get hostile or hateful about it. Just say, look, I'm just trying to reason because I want this relationship. I love my wife, it's my wife. And, I really want to build a bridge here for, all of us to be able to, my wife doesn't have, and you got to talk to your wife too. Look, if I can get this, it's important to me that I have this relationship with my sister. I need you on board. And yes, y'all had some words, but that's in the past. If I can build this bridge, I need you to help me, build this bridge. Bygones be bygones. Forget that, and let's try to move forward as a family. So I would definitely come in with a couple of scenarios for her to consider. If it were her that were in your wife's position, how would she feel? And see if maybe you can get some understanding out of her when it comes to that. I mean, that's how I handle things.
My sister is just so much more forgiving of my mom. It's like they walk on eggshells for her, and I can't do that for anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, my mom even went to the point at my sister's wedding. Probably a few weeks before my sister got married, my mom took her wedding dress because they got into a fight. Took her wedding dress and dumped it in one of the Goodwill. It's like a Salvation Army type place. Dumped it in one of their collection boxes. So
that's wild, man. But, that's wild.
Well, yeah, she did that. And my sister's still around.
And she still defends mom. Well,
yeah.
Part of this too could be, and I'm not a psychologist, or psychiatrist, and I only know what I do and how I handle situations, and when I observe other people and what they do and how they handle situations and what seems to work and what doesn't. But when I hear stuff like that, okay, your sister went with your mom, to Vegas, so they maintained that, closeness, that daily, togetherness. She was very dependent on your mom. In Vegas, you weren't, you had a disconnect there you stayed with your dad, for that couple of years. And, I could see how that would make her maybe feel a little more obligated, a little more loyal, a little more, partners with mom, where you had that 2-year disconnect that allowed you to remove yourself from the toxicity and kind of see that this isn't right. This isn't normal.
Yeah. And my mom, and even my real father, he was the same way. He was in and out. Like when I would go visit him on the weekends, I never realized until I was probably 13 or 14 I was actually going to his house because he lived with my grandparents. I always thought I was going to my grandparents.
Yeah.
And him and my mom couldn't get along. Even for my wedding, they ruined my wedding because, I let my mom in, I let my real dad in, and everything was going okay. And all I asked was one picture with my real parents together.
Mm-hmm.
And it came to, no, my mom was actually willing, my real dad wouldn't. So, his wife called my mom white trash. Can't call white trash. That just doesn't go well. So, we all know how that rolls.
Right. Yeah, that doesn't usually end well. I've seen the ending of several of those.
Yeah, I've had an interesting time with parents dealing with one I have with my stepdad, which I also think my sister resents a little bit because I have a good relationship with her father and not mine.
Right. Yeah. I could see how that could be a case. I will tell you that I hate to see families breaking up at all, but I've done videos on, even if it's a family member, if it's toxic, it's toxic. It doesn't matter, it could be a parent, it could be a cousin or, whoever, it doesn't matter. If they're toxic, you have to, and they are not going to make any effort to make any changes, you have to remove that from your life. So I'm proud of you that you realized, look, I don't want this for my kids. I can't have this around my kids. I want a normal, healthy, whatever normal is, but you know what's not normal. I don't want that for my kids. So, I'm proud of you that you made that step. That's a big move to make when you're cutting somebody out like a parent. That's a tough thing to do. I can't imagine having to do that with my mom and dad, but I would like to think that I would if I were in the same boat, to protect my kids. So I'm proud of you for that.
I appreciate that. It's not an easy thing because both my parents, my real father and my real mother, I've had to cut out because they can't behave in a situation that's not going to be harmful.
Right.
And I give both of them multiple chances. My dad, at one point, I had lost my job. And I was laid off, and I was living in a real big house.
I can't hear you right now with the dog.
Sorry. Let me go in here. Anyway, I was living at my real dad's house at one point in time.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually evicted me, like legit evicted me, because I had lost my job and he was moving this woman in and she didn't want me to live in there.
Your biological dad?
Yeah. Yeah, my biological dad, he's something else.
This reminds me too, and I'm probably going to close on this, but it reminds me too of another, who Zig Ziglar is?
It sounds familiar.
He's an author. He's an amazing man. At any rate, look him up, Zig Ziglar. One thing that he has said that has always stuck with me is it's not what happens to you in life, but it's how you respond to what happens to you in life that makes the difference. And I always pair that quote with a story that I had heard about twin brothers that grew up with an alcoholic father who, one of the boys, he grew up to be an alcoholic and drug addict, and they asked him, why do you think you became this way? And he said, well, from watching my father, that's all I knew. Well, the other brother, he became a, very, very successful businessman, never dropped a drop of alcohol. And they said, well, what do you think, what happened in your life to make you so successful? And he said, I watched my dad and I didn't want to be anything like him. So, it's how you respond. And I see you responding positively out of a, bad situation. And that's huge. It's huge. It takes a lot for somebody to, not just fall right into the same, thing that they've watched growing up, but to go the opposite direction. And so it's to be commended. You should be proud of yourself that you are trying to make positive steps in the right direction away from that toxic life that you came from. And I really do want you to do what I've asked you to do with your sister. I want you to reach out. I want you to talk to your wife more about this, about helping build that bridge, come up with your scenarios that you can compare the situation about the mother putting the information on Facebook, and go to your sister with that. And again, don't get heated or excited, or don't come across as being like you're attacking mom, but talk to her in a tone more of a, look, listen, I just want you to understand where I'm coming from. I'm not trying to fight or argue. I'm not trying to put mom down. I want you to understand where me and my wife are coming from on this. It really hurt our feelings. It upset us. And we feel like we were justified in that. And this is why. And if you go to her with a soft tone, she might come around to understanding your way of thinking. But after you do all of that, I really, really, really want you to email me back, like in 60 days and let me know how things are going. If that dialogue is ongoing with your sister, if y'all have spent time together, if you've got to meet your niece, I want all that information because I want to know how things are going for you.
Okay. I can do that.
Okay. I always tell people, put it in your calendar. If you've got a calendar on your phone, go to your calendar right now. When we get off the phone, in like 2 months, 10 weeks, somewhere in there, put it in your calendar. Hey, I need to send an email to the Straight Shooter and let them know what's going on.
Yeah, I can do that. No problem.
All right, man. Well, I hope that what I've told you has helped, and I hope that that you take the advice and everything pans out for you. And I'm going to look forward to getting an email from you. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
I appreciate you having me on. I really enjoy your show.
Thank you. I appreciate it. All right, man. Enjoy the rest of your day with your family, man.
You too, brother.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
I like how you brought up the representation of the podcast, how you come out of your way, you go out of your way for something that's important. What it sounds like is happening with him is like he has no communication skills. I don't know if he doesn't have the skills or not. It's hard for me to say, but he literally sounds like he hasn't put in any effort because he doesn't know how. What it really sounds like to me is that he wants to not have a relationship with his mom so bad that he's avoiding anybody that's even remotely close to her.
He may be a little afraid that by opening up that relationship that it will draw mom because they're close, because sister and mom are still close. It may draw mom back into the dynamic, and he doesn't want that. Or
it sounds like he has so much trauma from his mom because, dude, good God, his mom in it, like his mom throwing away his sister's wedding dress or taking it to a Goodwill.
Yeah.
I mean, man, dude, like it sounds like he's had so much trauma that he is just doing whatever it takes to just avoid it.
Right. Yeah.
And so, I mean, but he does. I can tell he wants to have a relationship with his sister. He just wants to stay as far the hell away as he can from his mom.
But again, if it's really important to him to have that relationship with his sister, he has to have those conversations and let his sister know how important it is to have the relationship. But that does not mean it's a package deal with mom.
Yes.
And so, while I want to spend time with you, I want to get to know my niece. I want you to know my kids.
Yes.
We have to do this without involving mom in it because I can't have her around the kids, treating her the way she's treated you and me.
Communication is so important, and it's okay to be fully honest with someone, but in a calm tone, like you said, right? Like go up to her and say, hey, listen, mom caused me a lot of trauma. I'm okay with you still loving her.
Yeah.
And still getting along with mom. I would never ask for you not to get along with her.
Correct.
But me, on the other hand, I'm 100% done with her, and I never want a relationship with her again. So, but I do want a relationship with you. I want to meet my niece. I want you to meet my kids, but I need to keep mom away from it. So why don't we set something up once a month to where we hang out? He has to be a leader. We talk about being a leader a lot.
Right.
Be a leader in the situation. There's ways to go about it. And I think you can get it done and still maintain distance from your mom.
Yes. And tone is everything.
Yeah.
Tone is everything. I mean, there's a time to use a stern tone, and there's a time to use a, soft tone when you're talking to somebody, depending on what you're trying to accomplish. And in this case, a soft tone is going to be necessary.
Yeah, even take a couple weeks to think about exactly what you're going to say if it takes that long.
Yeah.
If you have to take a couple weeks to think about it, what exactly you're going to say and exactly how you're going to approach it, do it. But don't prolong it too long because then you're just going to keep going down this rabbit hole because it's been 2 years.
Right.
That's a long time. You do need to move. So set a date that you're going to talk to her, think about it, and then approach it from there because, man, I would love to have a niece or a nephew. My sister doesn't want kids. She's 40-something. She's not going to have kids now. But I'd love to. So I couldn't imagine if I had a niece or nephew out there and then wouldn't be able to get to know it. That'd be really sad. Do you have any brothers or sisters?
I have a sister. She lives in Virginia. She has 2 great kids.
Yeah.
They're in high school. And I mean, I know them. I mean, we get together every few years, but I don't see them near as often as I'd like to.
Yeah. Yeah. I just never asked you that. That came out of nowhere. So
anyways, I'm going to look forward to hearing from him.
Yeah,
and,
me too.
Hopefully sister's receptive and wife gets on board to build that bridge. And, for anybody else that's listening to this, if you're having any kind of similar situations, similar issues, you know, where you need to bring a family member back into your life, you know, take this advice, set some time aside, put some effort into it, and go to them with a soft tone and explain to them, I love you and I want you, but, you know, it can't be a package deal with the toxic person over here. We just can't. We can't have that.
No. Yep. And if you just like Zach M did, I'd like to use Zach M as an example here, how you gave him advice and the next day he just sprung into action, did what you said, and everything's going on the right track now.
Yes.
You can get all the advice in the world, but if you don't take it, if you don't spring into action, if you don't enact what was said and make some moves, you're never going to get out of the rut. So be like Zach M and spring and do it, and then get back to us. So
yes.
All right, Straight Shooter, take us out.
Well, I think I kind of just recapped by just telling people, hey, take my advice. And you may not always agree with everything that I say, but you know I'm always going to shoot you straight.
You have been listening to The Straight Shooter Show. Come back every Wednesday for new episodes.